How you doing today? So in this Jeff Not Dead Yet Adventures, and in this, you know, I don't know, whatever group of videos I've been doing, I've been just monologuing. Thought I'd show you the background more than my face because let's face it, it's beautiful out. It is rather windy though, and you can't really film outside, even with the mic and the dead cat. It just ain't cutting it. But in this series of videos, I've been talking a lot about travel from the new timer perspective or the beginner perspective, a novice or whatever, and a lot of things that can help out somebody who's an inexperienced or first time traveler. That's been my whole perspective. I know and met people who travel way more than me, and the top level travel tips and everything, none of this applies to them. But today I wanted to talk about the tool that I used to actually focus in and get me moving forward. Because, when you're sitting around, oh, I'm going to, or I'm planning, or I'm thinking, or I'm dreaming, taking that dream and putting it into a plan and actually getting action done on that plan to actually accomplish it is a daunting task the first few times if you're not in this, mode. If you're not in this, I guess mode's the right word. And it kind of goes back to psychology. So a lot of psychology, practical psychology, when you go see a therapist or a psychologist, they're big on the tips and tricks, right? They give you tips and tricks. You go in there, hey, I'm having a problem with this. They give you tips and tricks. Hey, I'm having nightmares. They give you drugs, right? Hey, I'm having this problem. Okay, well, let's talk about it, right? But a lot of it is just tips and tricks, how to deal with different situations, how to not, how to reach that calm and, make a better decision in the time and place. But this is kind of in that arena, tips and tricks, because it's really just like a mental hack I came up with. Because what I found is I was so busy dreaming about going places, and I never really got serious about, I want to go here. How do I actually get there, and what's it actually take, and can I actually do it? And on a small fixed budget, the idea of swimming off the coast of Italy, I talk about it all the time, right? It wasn't even in my realm of, possibilities. It wasn't even a thought process. There's no way I could afford it. But once I sorted out travel, and then once I started sorting out my budget, and then once I started sorting all this out, now, I can't just fly to Italy tomorrow. Well, from here I actually can. It's like $40, $50. It would cost me more to get to the airport than it will to get a ticket to Italy. But none of that was possible until I started really narrowing down a few things. And I had to take that I want to, I'm gonna, or one day I will, right? I had to take that and narrow it down and focus it. And then I got specific, and I got very, very specific. The more specific I got, the easier it was to make the hard decisions to get to where I wanted to go. And, that's a whole nother concept you could spend hours on. But the more specific you get in your goal setting, the easier it is to accomplish that goal. And then it's, what I found to be the secret is that get very specific, but it can't be like next week because, I may or may not be able to achieve it next week. It's got to be, that date has to be the fluid thing that moves. But the more specific I am, and a friend of mine helped me see this from this perspective up in Poland. He's like, look, once you make a decision to go here or do this or do that, all your decisions between now and then are made. It's just a matter of whether you're going to step forward, step sideways, or step back with every decision you make. And so for me, that was a tool I wish I understood, 10, 20 years ago, because there's a lot of times in my life where I thought I was working towards a goal, but I actually wasn't. I was just spinning, uselessly spinning, doing nothing. So what I came up with to really help me overcome a lot of obstacles and to really ferret out the pipe dreams and focus in on what I'm actually going to accomplish was today, tomorrow, never. So whenever I get these spurious thoughts about doing this or doing that, right, I hit the today, tomorrow, never filter. And it's just kind of something I use to filter out the chaff or filter out the, dead wood or whatever you want to use, filter out the erroneous things that aren't really in my future. They aren't between here and my goal and whatever my goal is. So today, tomorrow, never works like this. Say I want to go to Egypt. Am I planning a trip to Egypt? Am I going to Egypt tomorrow? Today, am I going to Egypt today? No. Am I planning a trip to Egypt today? No. Am I planning a trip to Egypt tomorrow? No. Am I going tomorrow? No. Then never waste time on it. Don't research Egypt. Don't do this. Don't do that. Never waste time, because that's just time wasted. That's like scrolling time. It's just time totally wasted. I'm going to lose weight. Look, if you're not willing to start losing weight today or tomorrow, don't bother. Don't even think about it. Don't even hit the I'm going to or I want to, because those little I'm going to's and I want to's, I'm gonna go a little deep, and I'm not an expert. This is all like third, fourth hand, filtered through a high school education. But every time you say I want to and you don't do it, that's a little negative feedback. Every time you say I'm going to eventually and you don't do it, that's a little negative feedback. And I don't want those negative feedbacks constantly pushing me down, 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 right? I want the positive feedbacks. So Egypt, yeah, sure, it's a pipe dream, it's beautiful. So like, if I wanted to go to Egypt, I would sit down and today or tomorrow and start to look at a plan, and is it feasible to go to Egypt? Is it feasible? And what would it take? And what's that look like? And get very specific. When am I going to Egypt? What are the plans, right? And sometimes you screw it up. Sometimes you have everything lined up to get someplace, and there's, a screwball comes in from the side, a little detail you missed, and you're on your way. But whether it's climbing Mount Everest, going to Egypt, going to the Philippines for the first time, when you get real specific on your goal and you run it through the today, tomorrow, never, then anything else that pops up that's a distraction, you hit it with that same today, tomorrow, never filter, and you just like, my goal, say, is to go to the Philippines in October, right? Okay, I'm going to the Philippines in October. Oh, well, there's a trip to Vegas in July I want to go to. Today, tomorrow, never. Is that trip in July going to affect my October trip? Then I'm not even going to worry about it. Yeah. If it's not, then yeah, okay, I'll go, and that will be another thing, right? But if I've already planned on going to the Philippines in October, I've already worked out my budget between now and then and how much money I'm saving to go to the Philippines, right? And so everything, becomes this, for me, I've been told, critically told, I'm a very linear person. I don't see myself as very linear, but I think I'm kind of round, to be honest. But, once if you're making a decision to go to the Philippines in October, and a trip in July comes up, and that's going to chew out your budget and make it so you can't make it to the Philippines in October, then that's a step sideways. And do you want to step sideways, or do you want to step forward? And it may even be a step back. It may take out, trips for the rest of the year, because what if you go to Vegas and you blow a bunch of money, and now, you're not going anywhere until, after the first or longer, right? So it's about knowing yourself. But the today, tomorrow, never, it really helped me focus in and actually get things done, because a lot of things just pop up, and even today, I had plans and things weren't going right, and I had to go back and I had to run it through a filter, continue forward or stop and pivot. And I ended up going for the stop and pivot, much to my disappointment, right? But the stop and pivot made more sense in the long run, because if I'd continued forward with my plans for the day, I won't be prepared tomorrow, and then that starts a snowball effect. And so this is a lot of planning, and a lot of it is like, childish basic stuff. But it's easy to know something in your mind, and sometimes it's hard to visualize it and put it in practice. Sometimes it's hard to see it put in practice and understand it. So, planning a vacation or planning to move abroad or planning to, go nomad or go expat, you can spin your wheels for years saying, I'm going to, I'm going to, I'm going to, I'm going to, right? But you're just spinning your wheels. You're just scrolling. You're just watching YouTube. And the way to break that is to hit it with the today, tomorrow, and never filter, right? And if you, you know, you're not leaving today, and you're not leaving tomorrow, you need to sit down and make a plan today or a plan tomorrow, and you need to start execution on that plan. When I say make a plan, I mean make a detailed plan. And backwards planning is always the easiest, right? So, where are you going? Not really important. When are you leaving? Kind of important, right? What are the steps it takes for me to go from where I'm at now to getting on a plane? Now that's important because that will dictate everything else, right? How much time do I want to spend getting rid of my stuff? How much time do I need to build a bank account? Do I need to build a cushion? Do I need to get a passport? Right? All of those things, when you start filling in that plan, it's going to expand and contract. And then you can worry about the exact when day. And then you can worry about the exact, location, right? And the same holds true. Whenever I sit down now, I thought I was a pretty good planner. Like I could sit down and make a plan and follow it and stick to it very well. But now I plan from a totally different perspective, right? Because I'm not working on timelines. I'm not working on hard deadlines. I'm not working on hard goals, that have to be done on a specific date or anything. So, planning to build a house is different than planning to change your life or, disrupt your life, you know, go nomad, go expat, go slow travel, even take a vacation for the first time. Once you start doing a lot of vacations, then it gets real easy, it gets routine, and none of this will even be a blip on your radar. But that first, like, get you moving thing, and even today, like, I go back and I revisit it. So if I feel like I'm in a slump and I'm not really getting done what I want to get done on the big picture, things that are just the dreams out there, things that are just like, whiffs of cloud, right? Then I have to sit down and look at what I'm doing, and apply that today, tomorrow, and never. And, my plans the last 6 months have taken a lot of sideways turns. And so kind of felt myself lost again. And then, you sit down and reground. Okay, I'm just kind of wandering around. What do I really want to get done? Because I can wander around for everywhere, right? Wandering around a city or the planet is kind of like scrolling endlessly, right? But what are you really getting done? Are you getting healthier? Are you getting, this? Are you seeing historical things you want to see? Are you meeting the right people? It's just a matter of, it's all the same thing, right? Endlessly scrolling or endlessly wandering, it's pretty much the same thing. Or just endlessly, stuck in the same routine, right? And if you're endlessly stuck in a routine or anything like that and you want to do more, I mean, some people want that routine for the rest of their lives. I've met people, as I talked about in a previous video, I spent a lot of time talking to, retired people and people about to retire, specifically men, trying to sort out what their, plan for, the last season of their life is. Hopefully it's the longest season of their life, but the retired season of their life. And I met people, they just want to, have their house and, mow the lawn and take care of the yard and do their thing. And, they have no desire to go see the world, no desire to do this. That's what they want. And I'm super happy for them because they've found and created their, happiness. For me, that's kind of still a wandering, target. But what do I want? And, but for right now, I know what I want. I want to see, as a kid, you, you read books, you see maps, you hear stories, you watch movies, and you're like, oh, that would be cool to go. I want to go there, right? And so all the things that were out there, that, I kind of wanted to see, or never imagined I could see, they're all coming into the realm of possibility. And it's just because I'm getting better at traveling, I'm getting better at focusing, and I'm using this today, tomorrow, never. Because if I stay on the path forward, right, and I stop with the little side steps, and I stop with the back steps, and I stop like just wandering around aimlessly, I can actually go places and see things that, I never thought I could as a kid. I mean, even as a kid, there was no way I ever thought I would go to, some of the places I've been. And there's that list of things from my childhood is just coming back into my life now in greater, intensity, because I've sorted this out enough to where I can wander, minus the really expensive places. I can dip in, dip out, but I can wander around very cheaply because I make the sacrifices. I go to bed hungry. I go to I walk. I don't take the taxi. I take the bus. Right. I take the cheap flight. I don't have everything I want to carry with me because of airline restrictions. Right. And there's all these things, all these sacrifices that nomad life. And some people don't see them as sacrifices. It's just that, it is what it is. But I would rather have a dozen or 2 dozen shirts than half a dozen shirts, right? I'd rather have 3 or 4 pairs of pants than one pair of pants. And so those are the little sacrifices you make. Sleeping on a lumpy bed, sleeping on a hard bed, sleeping without aircon, sleeping without a fan. All these little things that can wear at you, but they all keep me going forward as long as I stay focused, and I use that today, tomorrow, never method to stay focused. Because right now I could sit down and waste, a week just scrolling and planning different trips or planning different things or dreaming about going here, dreaming about going there, you know, and what's it going to get me? It's not going to get me any farther forward, right? It's not going to get me out of this chair, out doing anything productive. It's just going to waste my time. So, I don't know if this will help anybody, if anybody will even make it to the end of this video, but it's a video I've been wanting to make for a long time because the mental trick I came up with, today, tomorrow, and never, the mental filter I came up with, has really, really helped me out significantly because I'm not wasting time. I'm not, walking in circles. I'm not, wasting my, I keep saying wasting time, but that's what it is, right? It's really a tool for me to not get stuck endlessly scrolling through my head on stupid stuff. And I'll give you one more example. There was a long time ago, I had the idea about making this product, right? And I thought it's a product that solves a problem that it's not the little twisty mop like what's her name made, but it's a product that solves a problem I thought people would buy. It's a product I want, right? And I thought people would buy it. And so I spent a day. I just said, I've been wasting so much mental thought process on how to refine it, how to do this, how to do that, right? I've been wasting so much mental time on it that I'm like, okay, sit down. And I researched what's it take to get a patent made? What's it take to get, demos made? What's it take to get it into production? What's it take this? What's it take that? And I didn't get all the way to profit margins or anything like that, but it just really occurred to me that even though it's a product I want, I would buy, and I would use, nobody's making anything like it. It's still just a waste of time. Literally just a waste of time. There's too many other options to solve that problem that are plenty adequate, and this is a marginal improvement over those, and it's not worth the time at all, and so why waste my mental energy on something like that, right? I'd rather use my mental energy to learn more. I'd rather use my mental energy to, focus on what I'm actually going towards. What are my actually current goals? for me, it's travel and trips. So what are my actual trips that need mental attention? And then spend more time learning about psychology, learning about geology, learning about history, you and that's far more fulfilling to me. So instead of just the endless scrolling or wasting time, pretty flat video. I'm sorry, and thank you if you made it through it. Hopefully this does help somebody, or opens up somebody's eyes. But today, tomorrow, never has been a great mental filter for me. Like I said, because it got me to stop dreaming about all the what ifs and stop saying I'm gonna, and start saying I'm going, and this is what I need to do to go, and this is how I'm gonna do what I need to do to go, and here's the timeline. Shit, this is happening. And then you're getting off the plane someplace fabulous, right? And it's really that simple. It's really, really that simple. Anyway, take care. Have a great day.